Yes. Okay. So yes, good morning, everyone, once again, and welcome to today's session on critical thinking in age of AI. At Skilleme, our mission is to bridge aspiration with industry reality by preparing individuals and organizations with the right skills, tools, and knowledge for the future of work. Through our partnerships with leading institutions and industry experts, we bring impactful learning experiences across technology, leadership, and professional excellence. So it's my privilege to introduce our facilitator for today's session, Mr. Abdul Ahad. Mr. Abdul is a GenAI product, project, and leadership coach with over 21 years of IT industry experience and more than 12 years in corporate training. So he has conducted over 150 training sessions, empowering over 2,500 professionals across industries like technology, fintech, e-commerce, retail, manufacturing, and consulting. He has also trained over 2,000 students through university engagements and is a guest faculty at leading academic institutions. Mr. Abdul is also author of 4 books, including Product Management Playbook and Mastering Agile, and has co-founded an e-commerce startup, bringing real-world entrepreneurial insights to his training. With his extensive background in product management, AI, leadership, and digital transformation, Mr. Abdul brings a unique perspective on how critical thinking remains a vital skill in the era of artificial intelligence. So, we are excited to have him lead us through this important discussion today. Over to you, Mr. Abdul.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. I hope you're doing well. So today we're going to be talking about critical thinking and AI. And without further ado, let me just get started. Hope you can see me now. So to understand critical thinking and AI, I'm sure all of you are using AI at this particular stage. So we really need to understand what is the interplay between a human and artificial intelligence. By that, we can understand how the critical thinking would actually work. So the relationship between the human critical thinking and artificial intelligence represents it's basically a complex dynamic work where each element is enhancing the other's capability. So there is human and then there is artificial intelligence. So with AI, we can basically, particularly Gen AI, and large language models, we are excelling in processing vast amount of data. Uh, and AI is really good in identifying the patterns. It's great in generating outputs. It's very good with doing statistical probabilities. And that's how ideally the AI would work. And then comes the human critical thinking aspects. So when we start thinking about the human critical thinking, we start looking at what are the ways by which we can add the critical thinking, as in the creative part of ideas. What works, what doesn't work, what output is meaningful and what is not. AI cannot do that. AI is not creative in nature. AI can only can listen to what we have to say, and based on that, it gives an output. It can't do its own thinking and its own abilities. It just it's like you give it an input, and based on that, it is actually giving you an output. So there is a need for a human validation. So this is the whole point of actually getting this right. And most of the cases, you at this stage, I would say close to maybe 70% plus of IT people at this stage are using AI for their day-to-day work. And there are a huge amount of failures that are happening. There are cases where if you're making use of, let's say, prompt engineering, we're using certain prompts, and the outputs could actually be totally wrong. I could give you an example. I was trying to work on a project, and for that particular project, I gave a prompt talking about this product is bad, and tell me why it is. So instead of actually trying to figure things out, it just tried finding reasons why it is bad, and it gave a very wrong answer altogether. We will be talking about other examples with respect to the critical thinking. So just give me a moment. I will share my screen. So I hope all of you can see my screen now. All right. So, today's agenda is more to do with trying to understand the context, principles. We look at a playbook, how to implement it. We look at a couple of case studies, and then how we can avoid getting into such a situation. All right. So to begin with, we want to basically understand what is the level of AI which is in use at this point of time. So AI in action at this point of time, it is being used for the, say, you can see here like a rail work which is actually going on in China. Very recent news. Over 4,000 ton steel box grinder was precisely positioned with the help of an AI system recently at shadowing China's Zhejiang province, marking the first time AI technology has been applied to a grinder replacement. So it's not just in IT, it is almost in every single field. The AI is actually become very, very useful tech. Then there is another news where there is a Diala, world's first AI cabinet minister appointed in Albania to fight corruption. So this is another news where you're seeing AI now being used in government in order to fix challenges, issues that people are now started facing. Right. So these are few use cases could be done, but these are very few. There are millions of use cases that could be used for different industries at this point of time. So for that reason, it is that in fact become very critical for us to ensure it is being used right. It is right for us to ensure that it is being used the right way. So usage wise, it's also important for us to ensure that we are validating the output that is actually coming. Is it right or not? Right. So from a standpoint of what kind of input that we can actually look from a standpoint of why critical thinking is important now, there are cases of hallucination that happens when we make use of Gen AI. One common thing with hallucination is imagine uh, like we were talking about, AI cannot think on its own. So what it does pattern recognition. It looks through the data. It goes through information, and based on that information, it looks at which is a probable answer that would be more relevant for you. So based on that, it is picking up what is relevant. So there can be cases where it can get confused between maybe one response from one model to the other or one context to the other if it is not properly given or it is not having the right training data that has been given to it, and based on that is not able to and get to that point. Biases can be there, so models can repeat historical or data biases that might be there in the data. Then there is a case where information flood is happening, where you have content creation is actually happening and it's creating a lot of noise at this stage. You can see a whole lot of content creation that is now happening with the Gen AI now coming in. Every other person is creating AI videos. Every other person is creating deep fakes at this point of time. So there is a crazy rage on AI creation at this point of time. Many people find it very, very difficult, in fact, to identify, in some cases, to identify uh, uh, fake from the real one as well. And then also it's really important for us to be sure if we are over relying on AI as well can lead to wrong information in some cases. So I'll take an example over here. So as you can see here, there's like a hard query that I've created over here. Summarize the key arguments, evidence presented in 2023 paper. And in this particular paper, you can see thermodynamics paradox by Dr. Elara was from an institute focused on experimental validation, right? Pretty straightforward query, right? But the problem here is, uh, so this particular article doesn't even exist. This doctor doesn't even exist. If that is the case, if AI doesn't find this information, it's not able to validate it, there can be cases that they may actually create one and they may just show you. You can try things like that. You can test this out on your own, and you will find some of the models will give you an answer saying that, look, this kind of paper doesn't even exist, or there can be one which might just say that, hey, uh, here is output with respect to the quantum gravitational decoherence, and this is what you need to be knowing about it, right? Next, so just to understand the critical thinking better, so Daniel Willingham has defined this very nicely. Critical thinking is novel, not a direct repetition of something you have learned before. It is self-directed, not just repeating steps you have been given, and effective, following patterns that are likely to yield useful conclusions, right? So critical thinking is novel, it is self-directed, and it is effective, right? So when it comes to a human and an AI, there is a complementary role that we have to work with. AI is helping us speed up. There was a case where we used to have maybe 10 developers working on a project. Now there can be just one engineer working on the same project and maybe working at a speed faster, better than what was being done earlier. So AI is bringing in that speed, is bringing in the scale, it's bringing in the pattern spotting. But there is a need for a human, and that human is bringing in, what does a human bring in? He brings in the context. He understands the context better than the AI. Human has the creativity edge, which the AI doesn't have. It understands the values, it understands the trade-offs. So based on that, human as a human, we are supposed to be making use of AI in order to get what we want based on these parameters, basically, right? So we keep practicing. We will not maybe get our answers right immediately, but we have to keep practicing until we are able to get objectively what we are primarily looking for. So from a standpoint of critical thinking, like we were talking about, novel, self-directed, effective, core skills that we ideally look at is we have to analyze, basically break things down in order to solve the problem better. Evaluate the output, like is it solid, is it good or not? Synthesize, combine the data from multiple sources. And finally, question the assumptions. There are cases where the AI could make use of, the Gen AI could actually make use of assumptions which may be incorrect. So it's really important for us to also authenticate. If you're actually working on a very large project and very important project, over relying on AI is a problem, can lead to a wrong output altogether. Be very careful. It will look really bad at the end of the day, where we have relied too much on it, and then the final output which shows up may not look good. Imagine another example where same query is being used by multiple number of people, and maybe the same output is actually getting generated. And if that is being used for let's say for your SEO for a website, for content creation, and using it over there, how does it help really? So you may not even be able to add a major value to your website if you're using it for blocking from that standpoint. So our judgment plays a very important role in evaluating this. Our judgment plays a very important role is understanding how we could synthesize multiple amount of data, and then questioning the model itself. It's important for us to know the sources, and based on that, we can take a call whether it is making the right call or not, making the right judgment or not. Next, we look at common failure modes. So it's very important. We should not overtrust, right? Look for more sources when you're working with a lot of data. Try to understand what kind of are they reputable publishers. Go through the dates. Is it old resource or the new resource? Domain build prompt. So try to look at who's the audience, for whom are you doing it for, what are the constraints. Look also from a point of view of ethics. It's important that there should not be any kind of a bias in what the final output is actually going to be. It's very important in this current age that we should not end up creating a content that might be harmful. It may not. It could be a deep fake which may be harmful for someone. It could, or a content which might hurt sentiments. So these are some caveats that we need to be aware of. As part of sort of usage data that we should be aware of, like 75% of knowledge workers are actually using AI at this stage. usage has actually doubled in the last 6 months. But a lot of companies have not yet, upgraded their AI skills for their employees. There is some bit of pickup that is actually happening. It's just that depends from company to company, they are making those changes. Then, from a standpoint of AI skill penetration in India, it's massive. Yeah, to give an example, I saw a billboard just now where ChatGPT was actually sharing prompts based on maybe health, based on what you could do for daily fitness or anything for that matter, what people would actually looking for this. So they were giving those prompts and how it could actually help people, right? So, ChatGPT has now come to our billboards. Um, Looking at accuracy and variance, look at how incorrect the answers are and try to see how you could verify them. Try to play around with not just one, maybe a multiple number of tools, and based on that, you can actually get a better result. So the core principles that we should look at in order to, ensure that we are safe, we are able to get accurate information. You start with questioning the assumption and the bias. Second, evaluate the evidence in the sources. Third, engage in iterative questioning. Fourth, consider context and implication. Five, practice ethical reasoning. So we'll just go through that in detail. So start looking at assumptions and biases. We were just talking about earlier. What pattern is the AI actually making use of at this point of time? Um, what kind of bias is there at this point of time? You can try this out. You can once you maybe get a response, ask the Gen AI, like, what are the assumptions that you've actually taken in order to answer this question, and based on, and maybe try this out with different tools. Based on this, you will know what kind of training data that they are actually making use of. Is it a good training data or a bad training data, something like that. To evaluate evidence and sources, check who, when, where, author, where it has come from. So who's the author, when it was published, and what are the URLs that is actually being used at this point of time. So also look at, ensure that you're not making use of anonymous blogs. Ensure that you are not making use of data that is inaccurate. They are not known for a good data. So cite, maybe, so one thing that could be done here is like cite 3 reputable sources with links, dates. What did you not cover? So things like that you could actually do in order to fix things. 3, engage in iterative questioning. Ask for counter arguments, right? Edge cases. Edge cases are like boundary conditions associated with your use case at this point of time. Try to change the parameters, see if the answers change. So for example, let's say it could be with respect to budget. It could be, let's say you're working on a project and you want to define all the necessary set of parameters. And then based on that, you basically want to identify what will be the budget, and try to play around with the parameters and see what kind of answers are you getting. Are you getting the accurate answer or not? Try to look at your older data and then see is it accurate or not. Work with alternative models and see if your things are changing or not. So ways by which you can maybe prove that your data is going wrong somewhere. So always look for not taking the AI output at its face value, but try to see how you can falsify the conclusion or what you're getting at this point of time. That way, you can ensure you're getting more accurate information. Uh, Consider the context. So as much as we have been talking about prompt engineering, there is something called as context engineering as well. So it's very important to fit things in from a standpoint of people, policy, time, money. So if you're able to make the prompts understand where you're coming from, if you're able to make the prompts understand which industry are you focused on, what limitations did you have, by defining those contexts, you're able to give it a better sense of it. Maybe the AI tool doesn't have information about your policy. What do? Give it that information. By doing that, you're able to ensure that the prompts, the output is now being generated considering the caveat, considering the constraint of the policy in mind, and based on that, you're actually getting the information. 5, practice ethical reasoning. Right. So when it comes to reasoning, it's really important that we need to basically understand who is it going to be benefiting, or who for whom it could actually be harmful as well. Things that we were talking from more from the benefits and the harm standpoint. Ensure that you are well aware of what risk that you are working with. Example, you're working on a very big engagement, or you're working on maybe a small project. So that could so the risks are accordingly evened out. There could be a need for a speed in some cases, and in some other cases it could be that we need the speed, but also it's also important that we need the right information to be given at the right time. So take those calls and be accordingly reason it out, and then try to arrive at a better decision. So this is the principles metrics when we are actually doing the critical thinking. Try to question the assumption. These are the things that we were actually looking at. What's our assumption? What's missing? Look at the training data and try to see what are the pitfalls that are associated, and what are the things that needs to be fixed. Next, from a standpoint of evaluating the evidence, it's important who has said it, when they have said it, where they said it, things like that. 3, we look from a standpoint of iterative questioning. First time you may not actually be getting the right information, so we look at ways by which you keep iterating on the output in order until you are able to get the right answer. For the very first time, you may actually get a very generic output, which you most likely might have seen. So we keep iterating it, we keep doing a follow-up, and based on until we are able to get the right answer. That's our as a human element, that's our validation to say that okay, this is something that satisfies my need. 4, context and implication. It's important to define the whole the world or the universe around which you're working on. So give the AI that information. Give the information who you are, what do you do about your company, and what and around it, work on it. By that, AI can actually give you a very, very specific response based on those limitations, and it may not be giving you a generic information after that. Next, ethical reasoning. Try to understand the risk. Try to look at the benefits. Look at the from a standpoint of bias. Look at okay, who are the people who are actually maybe getting impacted. So be very. It's very important to be very, very careful on that. That's an oversight that we need to be having. So the question that I actually have for all of you would be, take some time, try to take a minute or two. You can mention this in the chat and then say, tell me, what is your biggest AI risk today? Is it bias? Is it sourcing? Is it over trusting? Is it ethics? Is it context? What do you think it is? You can mention this in your chat. Great. We got a lot of response. Most of them have been talking about over trust. Then we have on the sourcing part, and next is with respect to ethics. Yeah, but when it comes to over trust, I think we have got to a mode where we are actually over trusting the AI models at this point of time. This is where we bring in our critical thinking to ensure that our data is right. It is really important to ensure that we get things right. That if the human validation is not there, you will get embarrassed in front of your clients, in front of your customers, in front of your boss, and saying that, okay, I did this is what I did, and this is the output that I got. I couldn't do nothing about it. That's not AI's mistake. It's your mistake. It's your output. It's not, though you may be making use of your Gen AI tools, but the final output is your responsibility. So over-trusting it can be something that you need to be very, very careful on. So we're going to be talking about a practical playbook um, in order to sort the critical thinking aspect. We want to focus on building the AI literacy. We want to look at the interaction habits. Next, we'll want to look at evaluating these frameworks, identify what are the frameworks which are actually there in the market, and which framework would actually be relevant for us. Then we look at domain checklists, and then we look at reflection routines. So we look at these one at a time. So it all starts with building our AI literacy. It's important for us to understand the basics of, say, Gen AI, agentic AI, machine learning, automation, understand what it is, what capabilities that it brings to the table, understand the common pitfalls that are associated with it. It's also important to understand the data literacy when it comes to the AI. If we are having a bad quality data, it will actually lead to a bad pattern recognition that might actually happen. So it's very important also to ensure that you're working with a clean, high quality data. Then evaluating the outputs. Right now, most of the AI models have now, or top leaders have actually started talking about the concept of these hallucination, which with the AI models are going through at this point of time. Hallucination is nothing but it's more to do with uh, pattern recognition for one over the other, weightage of pattern recognition of one model over the other, which one holds a better ground, and which will be more relevant for us to be making use of. But next, we look at security and ethical considerations. We look at how do we assess the opportunities and the risk in AI and cybersecurity. With AI coming in, it's really important we use it for better compliances. We can use it for better privacy. AI adoption has actually become very important. We could use AI for generating the code faster. We can while we are doing it, it's also important that the security element is not forgotten. If it is done wrong, there can be millions and millions of dollar loss that the company could actually face. Or it could be that server could just go down, and you may not have any idea with respect to why it happened, where it happened, how you could even in fact even fix it. Then looking at problem solving with the AI, it's very important to look at AI from a standpoint of troubleshooting. There are tools like Cursor, which are actually available, where you would actually start using for development, for debugging, try to leverage it for streamlining our workflows and improving our efficiency. This is where the world is headed. If you are not in it, we will be left behind. Right. So it's also important for us to understand what our role comes in. So it's basically an interplay of a human and an AI when it comes to building a product or doing a troubleshooting or problem solving a particular problem itself. So we need to keep in mind with respect to how well we can resolve these, even if while we are building it, maybe using a vibe coding, and when there are errors, we need to be well aware of by repetitive practice, we're able to ensure that we don't get the code wrong, or when the issues crop up, we know how to deal with them. Then AI skills for IT professionals, where we had to start developing these critical thinking that we're just talking about at this point of time. Adopting the workflows. There is a whole lot of concept of AI integration that we have now started talking about. How AI could be integrated with other applications. Take an example of, let's say, Copilot being integrated with Microsoft 365, or AI being integrated for doing a better data analysis. Give it the data dump, and then based on that, we are able to learn some very thoughtful information, which could be actioned after that. Then we look at the future of AI with the with the AI. So so there is, as much as we are building it, it's also important we want to monitor the progress of it, where it's helping us, where it is not helping us. What are the areas where we are feeling as a group, as an entity, and which we could actually fix to develop interaction habits, right? So what we more than the trust, it's all about verify. So changing that bit, where we say that, okay, I'm not going to be relying totally with one model, but I could make use of a couple of models, and based on that, I'll be able to ensure that, I'm able to validate if this information is right or not. Second, we look at trying to specify constraints that are associated uh, with your output. Define those constraints. Let's say it's a project, and an IT project that needs to be built. And for this IT project, maybe you need to be building a plan, let's say, and the plan has a budget, it has a time. Uh, can it be done or not? Uh, which technology are you making use of? What is the kind of budget that you have, and what are the budget that you have for what, and what kind of deadline that you have. Accordingly, you could based this kind of contextualization, you can actually build a project plan as well, right? Then structured evaluation frameworks are there. So there is a scale, AI assessment scale, and using this, we can actually choose the AI tools. It can be done more from a standpoint of what benchmark are we considering, right? So define those benchmarks, define the which category are you focusing on, and accordingly we can pick and choose where it makes a whole lot more sense, right? So also look at trying to figure out where, let's say, when you made use of an AI tool for a certain job, where it was more helpful for you, and where it was not, which AI tool was not helpful for you. Be cognizant about it. So it's great if we can actually have something like claims, evidence, assumption, logic. So try to figure out based on there are some claims that the AI models will make your try to go by the evidence, go through the assumptions, and then try to see what is working for you, what is actually not working. From a standpoint of evaluation, we look at let's say different models. Let's say you have over here like NLP, from a standpoint of, let's say, social science, natural science, medical application, agent application, other tasks, general benchmarks, specific benchmarks, automatic evaluation, human evaluation, and the challenges. Reason we are talking about these are though ChatGPT, let's say, may not is the market leader at this point of time, but it may not be uh, a leader in everything, in every category at this point of time. Um, Claude, from Anthropic, it's great when it comes to coding. You make use of cursor, and you can associate that with Claude, and then you're able to build better and do a better development than which you could use with ChatGPT. ChatGPT is getting there, but they're trying to fill in that gap at this point of time. So I'm just giving you that example. There could be another example where you start comparing between the video generation which is happening with, let's say, what Sura could do, what maybe Kling could do from which is from China, or something maybe Google Gemini could actually do those comparison, and based on a certain situation, based on a scenario, we're able to determine where these models are most likely, to work, and what are those models where may not work. Something so there are, within ChatGPT itself, there are numerous number of actually models which are actually there. When it comes to different industries, it could be, so you may find ChatGPT 5 is there, and there is other different versions of ChatGPT is there, using which you could actually make use of. If you use Grok, again, you will find a different set of models which are there, and you will actually have different responses. If you're looking at something which is with speed, you have a very different response. If you're looking at thinking, you have a very different response altogether. So, uh, if the intent is of speed, you get a response, but it may not be something which is specific. It may be generic. But so when we start looking at making it very, very specific, then we make use of making start asking the models to, okay, start thinking, and try to give me a response very specific to what my context is, what my objectives are, and based on that, you're able to get the right response. Then we look at here is a good example for a comparison between like DeepSeek, ChatGPT, Gemini, GitHub. So so all of these have, in its own world, they are great, but there are certain applications in which they are actually doing really, really well. Right? Yeah, DeepSeek could be very good with respect to domain specific tasks, but when it comes to ChatGPT, is very good with general purpose. Gemini with real-time data access, GitHub with Copilot. Gemini, if you're actually making use of, you could actually connect it to your system, and it will actually help you throughout. Let's say you're working on an Excel, and it could actually help you and tell you, okay, this is where you're maybe making a mistake, and it could actually suggest you things in the real time, right? So these models are there in the market. There are multiple number of models which are actually there in the market, and it will be wrong on our part to be making use of the same model for all. So we need to be cognizant about, based on our experiences, our evidences, our outputs from the past, to learn where one has been helpful, and based accordingly, ensure that you're using or do your prompt engineering only for those set of models with. Then cases of scalability, cost, ease of use, key application. So when it comes to ease of use, ChatGPT has expanded into web-based and API friendly, just giving away the APIs, and using which the other entities could actually make use of. You can build your bots with ChatGPT now. You can build your own custom GPT now with ChatGPT coming in. Google Gemini has a very different use cases, where they look from standpoint of Google Workspace integration, or you could use it for simplifying maybe your day-to-day work. And then you have the GitHub. You have a direct ID integration that one would do. So basically, the end goal over here is to ensure we understand what models are there. We understand, we evaluate these frameworks, and try to come up with which is the one which would be more relevant for my problem statement. Then it's important for us to go domain specific, trying to define what are the criterias, what are the different criterias, like guidelines, security, primary sources, which we are actually working on. Identify those checklists. Define, say for example, you may be working for a product company, or you may be working for a service-based company. You want to give the context with respect to which field you're working on. Define those domain specific checklists. What will be something which will be in scope for you? What will be an out of scope for you? let's say you're looking for launching maybe a product in India. You need to be you need to set the info with respect to, okay, this is the market that I'm actually looking for. This is the space that I'm actually going after. Based on that, you're able to, define those guidelines, or look from a standpoint of, let's say, you're generating maybe a content, and if that content is too advanced and you run that with someone who is a beginner, they may not understand the concept altogether. So it's really important for us to define the context, saying that, okay, hey, we this is being done for a beginner, but I may be an expert in in this space, but I need to ensure that these concepts are as detailed as possible, as simple as possible, so that because when I'm actually presenting it, people understand it better. Then we look at continuous reflection. We keep tweeting the prompts in order to get better information. There can be case where you may not be able to get the right response immediately. So it's important for us to get the response by, iteratively getting to an answer. You may have seen this maybe with ChatGPT, where you may ask for an information and it will cross question you. It will ask you questions just because of the fact that you may not have given it enough context, right? So when that actually happens, uh, it is forcing us to, go back to the drawing board and then say, okay, hey, next time when I'm actually building my prompt, these are the things that I need to be aware of. Build your like the super prompt formula, depending upon what you're working on, which is having information about the audience. It's giving having information about the role, which, as in what is your role, who the audience with respect to for whom is it? Is this for defining the context with respect to what is this about? In which industry is this? What are the things that the model needs to be aware of in order to do this? So you may not be able to get your prompt immediately right, but by iterating it multiple number of times, you may get to a point that, okay, this is the super prompt formula that I would want to use next time I'm actually solving this problem. So start taking notes of it and then start building those. Right. So coming back to this, it's really important for us to ensure that we are having a continuous reflection with respect to the data that we are generating. Look at what's working, what's not working for us. It's okay if your output is bad. It's okay, but you being aware that the bad data is bad is more important. Validating that is more important, and validating it, and then after that correcting it. Have build a strategy of correcting it. You may often see that your data could actually get messed up. I'll give you an example here. So let's say you start with a certain prompt and then you ask for an output, you get a generic output. You give more details to it. It gives you a further next level of an output, which may now have more details in it, but may not be something which is what you're looking for. You try giving in more information, and in the process, what happens is it starts uh, giving more attention to what you have just told and forgets about what you gave earlier. By doing that, now you have got into the a whirlpool where you may end up with a final output which may be totally be incorrect. So it's really important for us to be well aware of how we define these. It's okay to jump to the output and then go after it all over again, so that you get this right. It's not that just you are facing this issue. Many of the people who are making use of AI tools, they face this issue. You may not be able to get the answer immediately, the right answer. Iteratively try to improve on these. By doing that, you will be able to do this better in future. Also be aware of build this reflection log that we are actually talking about here. The wins, the misses, the surprise, and the next week. So a reflection log is great when you're actually saying that, okay, what did I use for what for what purpose was it used, where did it do well, where it did not do well, and where it could actually improve. So by having that kind of an understanding, we are able to ensure that we are building the right kind of content. So this is a like a workflow that we were actually talking about earlier. um, Starts with the task definition. uh, is AI appropriate or not? Have we defined the goals and the limits? Then comes defining the rules. So it's important for us to define all the necessary set of boundary conditions and the rules over here. Second, the prompt crafting. uh, the prompt crafting itself is in its own like a prompt engineering, right? There's a you can go through courses on prompt engineering. It kind of helps us ensure that we need to be avoiding the vague and the biased prompts. Otherwise you will end up with a bad output altogether. So balancing plays a very important role. But in order to do that, it's important for us to define the audience and the constraints and the counter views. Then the output analysis. Try to validate the output. Don't take the output at the face value. Try to look for alternates. Also compare them. Try to figure out what is right, what is not right, and then try to make the judgment which you could use for your next iteration. So we're doing a verification now from a standpoint of the claims and the sources. Try to identify what sources have they used. Are they reputable sources? Are they sources which are is it an authentic data at all, or is it just a fake data? It so cross check those dates. Next, integration. From standpoint of integration, look at opportunities where you are actually looking at human insights. You're looking at context and ethics, and based on that you're able to get a better final output together. Then finally we look at the reflection. What has worked well, what has not gone well for us, and by doing this we are able to be well aware of how you should be dealing with the Gen AI tools, at which context and when, what is supposed to be used. So your log insights is going to help you there, right? I will talk about few things with respect to implementation. Once again, I'll go to a few case studies that I actually want to talk about. This is a problem which many universities are actually facing at this point of time. Let's say you are actually giving the students assignments. They are ending up making use of ChatGPT. They don't understand it. They work on the assignments, and final output is pretty much same for all of them. And the university just can't do much on that. If there are people who are giving, if they're being interviewed for certain positions, for placements in company, if they are making use of AI tools again, companies are well aware of. They can basically distinguish what's an AI output and what is not. So case studies end up being junked by the companies just because the candidates not use their mind. Right. So we need to be very, very careful with respect to how well, when and where we are actually making use of the Gen AI tools. Next, from a standpoint of hospital triage, we can look at the human loop coming in, where you can identify which are the cases where you can a clinician take an example. Let's say there is a report that your clinic is actually generating, and feed this into the system, and then AI could actually give you a great response with respect to saying that, okay, what is the risk that you facing, what is that risk that you're not facing, what are the corrective actions you're supposed to be doing. Try this out. It's a great it's great to you make use of your reports, a clinical report, let's say, and ask for suggestions on that. It will kind of give you an info with respect to what is that your doctor saying and what is that AI is actually saying. So AI might overhype it and then give you saying that you're seriously ill based on the data that might be there. But on the other hand, doctor may just say, "Hey, you're not, you're fine. Just be careful on these aspects. Maybe don't eat these, and then we'll be fine. So AI could take some extreme calls over here. Right. Next, banking research citations. So we can easily draft the market memos with AI. So the risk is more with respect to fabrication of information. So you've got to be very, very careful when we are doing this. It's important to ensure that you know policies, banks' policies are well thought through. They are well validated when the final output is actually being showcased to the company. Right. And then for L&D curriculum upliftment, I think from that standpoint, this has become a great tool where you're able to identify the gaps of the company easily. You're able to understand what is going well for the company, what's not going well, and what are the skill gaps the employees are actually facing, and which we could actually be working on. So identify those matrices which would matter to you from a critical thinking standpoint: the error detection rate, now source verification frequency, prompt sophistication, iteration depths, AI incident reports. How many numbers? So error detection rate. That way, you can basically pinpoint and say what is the amount of errors are actually coming through. And some cases earlier we were actually talking about like 70% error we were actually seeing, but now models have become more and more refined. Um, Self verification has become very, very important, right? So how do you do that? You do that by validating the sources. Then prompt sophistication has also become important. By crafting the right prompt, we are able to ensure that we don't get things wrong. Iteration depth, we spoke about it. You keep revising the your prompts so until you get the right output. Right? There are different tools which you would actually use in order to get this right. Have a plan to fix this. All right. So that's all I have for now. Any questions anybody has? We're open to take.
So any questions from the participants? So you can use the chat window. Okay, I think looks like we don't have any questions. So thank you, Mr. Abdul, for such an insightful session on critical thinking in the age of AI. To all the participants, we hope this webinar helped you reflect on how critical thinking can complement the power of AI in decision making, problem solving, and innovation. So at Skilleme, we remain committed to delivering learning experiences that prepare you for the challenges and opportunities for the future workplace. So thank you all for joining us today, and hope to look forward to seeing you in upcoming sessions. So have a great day ahead. Thank you, Mr. Abdul, for this session as well.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Good day.